Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Chat. I am sitting here once again with Unathi Kwaza, who is such an amazing person and a hardworking, independent woman who's doing a lot of good in her community. Today, we're going to be talking about the struggles of SMMEs. Unathi, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. As we were discussing before we went live, it's a bit chilly today. Um,
Yes, it's not bad. I haven't really felt cold. When it's cold in Cape Town, um, it can get to like 5 degrees, 6 degrees, and it's still in the teens, I think.
yes. Um,
Um, Today I'm seeing 23. Maybe they've exaggerated, but it's not cold really.
I'm feeling it. You maybe where I am, it's a little bit colder, um, but it is a nice. I don't know. What do you think of Cape Town in the rain? I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is, but only when you don't have a job outside at the house.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, I enjoy. I enjoy just sitting next to the window and watching the rainfall, and it's just beautiful. But if, like me, you live with depression, it gets to you after.
Yes.
It shouldn't be like a lot, like the whole week
Yes.
of
Yes.
gray skies and all that, because I love the sun.
Mm.
And so if it gets very dreary for a long time, then I can feel it. Yeah.
Well,
Otherwise, because I also have a garden, so at home, so I like the fact that I don't have to worry about the plants not being watered when I'm away.
that is true.
So yeah, no, it's beautiful because on the days that it's sunny, it gets nice and warm. Like 2 days ago, it was brilliant. I was wearing a jersey and I had to take it off because it was just beautiful. So I'm not complaining. Strangely enough, though, winter is very short. But the way we get so cold, we're not used to jerseys and stuff.
No, yeah. Um,
Mm.
it is, but Cape Town is beautiful during this time as well, and it's beautiful during summer. I
The
think.
only problem though is when you live in an informal settlement that is in low lying. Actually, not even just informal settlement. If you are in an area where they call it low lying areas,
Mhm.
it's not easy for the water to move from those, or they get stuck in one place for a long time. So you start having flooding.
Mm.
But other than that, the problem though lies, I think, in the Eastern Cape more than any other province. The problems of the social ills of the Western Cape come from the Eastern Cape. I said to people the other day that the people from the Eastern Cape, sure, everyone has a right to go in everywhere they want, but they come to the Western Cape, and they just cause too much destruction. Obviously, not all of them, but the people who are causing destruction, the people who are banning things, the people who will beat your car, like throw stones at your car.
Throw
Um,
stones at your car. Why would they do that?
yes, they do that. They stand on the N2, along the N2. They stand on the
Oh,
bridge
yes, yes,
in
okay.
Nyanga, and they throw stones at people's cars and they cause
Yes, yes.
damage. These are people from the Eastern Cape, and they always have demands about things. They illegally grab land, and in a few months they are protesting for water, for electricity, for everything that people in the Western Cape have been waiting for like 2 decades or so. And I think they're selfish, and they don't think of other people. They think only for themselves. And unfortunately, because of the kind of media that we have, we're praising these people, we're
Yeah.
calling them, we're making martyrs or something like that. Think about what happened in Kailicha. A naked man was, goodness. Uh,
Yes,
for
I heard
me,
about that.
there was just no way I could feel sorry for him. He has a good, healthy man, a handsome even. man, healthy. He can actually work for himself. But there he is. He's grabbed land because he doesn't want to pay rent. He's probably working because the pictures I've seen of him, he's dressed well. He's not poor. I mean, goodness, there's very few poor people, I think, in South Africa, in informal settlements, judging by the fact that almost all of them have DSTVs. Who pays for a monthly fee of, I can't afford DSTV. So, besides the fact that I don't want to spend my money on DSTV.
Well, you're not missing anything. Don't worry.
I'm too stingy. So I don't have DSTV for the last 4 years, going on 5. But people have DSTV and people follow. I mean, you can see on Sundays the stuff, the rubbish they watch on Mzansi Magic. That's I think those films and have they are there to dumb down black people's minds because, goodness, when I listen to people talk about what is happening, whether it's things like We Are Jola 99. Okay, the wedding one is nice and entertaining, but most stuff is just rubbish that doesn't build black communities really. And I wish we had more entertaining but educational stuff coming from our televisions because of I mean, look at the fact that we haven't had schools since March, early March, before they closed for Easters. And what is there to educate children who can't afford homeschooling? You don't see anything. The last ahead of it, they organized celebrities who don't have any educational backgrounds as far as training is concerned. And they goodness, I don't know who comes up with this nonsense ideas. And so if you don't have such programs that can help young people, even youth, I mean, the SABC has a lot of educational programs, but not the level of, they don't become as big as the rubbish stuff that they show on television. So no one is now using this opportunity of the lockdown to educate young kids and young people generally. There's a program I like. You find it during the week on SABC. I don't know if they still have it. They talk to entrepreneurs, talk to them about their journeys in business and their struggles, their wins, and all that. So those are, for me, those are educational programs because you get away having found something that you can use in your own business life, if you want to put it like that. So we need more of those because, I mean, the future is in entrepreneurship. Big companies are no longer employing more people because they've developed themselves to a point where, I mean, the banks have online banking, cell phone banking, and all that. So these businesses have enough money they have security online and all those things. So the people who are going to be creating jobs as small businesses and micro enterprises. So, and unfortunately, these are the people who are mostly affected by the red tape that government loves so much. Gosh, I mean, there's an organization that I worked with, INENG, Independent Entrepreneurship Group, but unfortunately, we didn't have money we were basically volunteering, really, because we were not getting paid. But then, obviously, with travel and stuff, then they would pay for your airline. And if you want to host an event for entrepreneurs, small business owners, then they give you funding for that. They sponsor, whether it's a venue and catering. But what came out of that was the fact that government policies don't look at small businesses. They're not catered for small businesses. Think about the fact that when Uber started and Taxify, now Bolt, when they started, government wanted to intervene because they can't handle competition. And big businesses, the hotels, the bed and breakfast, they actually go to politicians and lobby politicians to create more regulation that will strangle these up and coming Airbnbs or your e-hailing services. These are the things that government doesn't want to look at, that are making sure that a lot of businesses, you can start your business with excitement and all that, but because of the red tape, it creates a burden on the work that you should be putting into developing a business and ensuring that it is growing and marketing it, because you have so many hoops you have to jump over to satisfy government. Government wants this paper, you must have the certificate, you must have this money to register and all those things. Why can't we why can't we cut that one out for people who are starting out? When you're starting out, why do you need to register at SARS? Why do you need to pay tax when you're starting out? You haven't even made any money, absolutely no money. The first 3, 4, 5 years, you don't pay yourself. If you're lucky to employ people, you need to pay those people. But there's also a national minimum wage, which makes your life unbearable as a business owner. You want to employ young people, but you can't, because government says that you must pay them 3.5 and above. Who's going to have money to do that? Instead of these people who are job seeking, instead of them negotiating for themselves that, okay, I can take 2,000 rands, I can take 2.5, I can take 1.8, because no one is going to give me that kind of money. I mean, right now people are waiting for 350 rands. What is 350 rands? What are you going to buy? It's bread. You can buy bread for a week. That's it. You're not going to get your body lotion, because you still need to look good and you still need to be clean when you go out there to look for jobs. But government, because of the national minimum wage, government is saying that is actually criminalizing you as an employer to employ such young and inexperienced. Remember that very first job? I mean, my very first job, I was still at college, and I was doing food technology at Pentech. We merged with Cape Tech, and it's now CPUT. So we got paid, I think, about, because we were students, we were young. I mean, I think I was about 19 when we started. We would go to these different food manufacturing companies. You'll be there for 6 months, and they pay you. And for us, even let's say 2.8, 3,000, that was a lot of money. And then you graduate, and you go looking for a job. I mean, you start off very on a lower base, and when you're young, it's a lot of money. It's a matter of now knowing how to manage your money. So if government is making things difficult for employers, people like small businesses, to employ young people, we'll continue having more young people not working. And I mean, I don't know. I feel that young South Africans are very. I mean, it's a miracle that young people have not marched like forever and made politicians' lives unbearable. Because how do you survive after going to college or university without a job for years? And the only thing you get are learnerships from these companies, and these companies never hire you. So how do you survive? You reach a stage where you must start your own family. You've never gotten a job. You reach 30, you've never worked. I mean, I started working around 19, 20, and then I graduated at 21. But young people today don't have that luxury of just finishing. Even before, I mean, I remember at the time we were at college, which were technicons at the time. You would find a job even before, while you're doing in-service training. A company would hire you even before you graduate, as long as you promise that you'll finish your diploma. Some people didn't even finish, but if you're good at the work that you do, some companies would hire you. But obviously, it was to your benefit to finish, so that you can have opportunities to grow within the company. So young people in South Africa have been deprived of I mean, the world of work. I feel that people should be starting working even earlier. Why can't 14-year-olds start to work for like on weekends? Start making money. Start understanding how do you make money? How do you build your wealth as a young person? I mean, what do 14-year-olds not do today? They drink, they go to parties at night, they do all these things, they get pregnant, and all these things that are not productive for a young person, they do them. So why shouldn't they work? Why shouldn't, when you reach a metric and when you start at university, and when you finish university, you already have a 2-page CV with experience. You've worked at an NGO, you've worked at a retail store, all those kind. You've worked at a law firm doing just small things. Why can't we have young people doing that for themselves and for their families? So I mean, someone that works is a whole, like, develops differently from someone who's just sitting at home, just watching TV the whole time. And I feel that we're just not utilizing our young people well. And I don't know, sometimes I feel that it's also the problem with our broken families, because you'll have this desire to work for yourself when you see people in your family who are hardworking and who are instilling a work ethic while you are still growing up. That uncle who will say to you, come wash my car, or come sweep this yard for me, I'll give you 10 rands, I'll give you 20 rands for airtime. I mean, goodness, think about the fact that today, young people at universities are saying that they don't have money to have classes online, but these people get allowance every month. But they saying that they don't, but they are using their data to watch movies. Blayton's money even says they are watching porn. I don't know where he sees watching porn.
At least he's honest.
But is he now? Where has he seen young people watching porn? Is he like checking up on them illegally? But young people, I mean, there's so much you can do on social media to benefit yourself. I meet so many amazing people of all races. South Africans are just amazing people. I meet all of them because I've decided to use social media to my benefit. I mean, I can spend all the time that I spend on social media without benefiting myself. I wouldn't have met people at Free Market Foundation, Institute of Race Relations, Frederick Naumann Foundation, and all these amazing liberty-loving people if I didn't make sure that I position myself on social media to attract useful people. Obviously, there will always be nonsense people, rubbish people. Yeah. But I would say more often than not, I engage with mature people on social media who want to meet to talk business, who want to meet to just have chats about the country, about politics, about business, and all those kind of things. So young people should be doing those things. I mean, I think it was last year there was a research that had been done, and it showed that young people from poorer families use social media for things that are not productive, but young people from richer families or middle-class families tend to use the internet to educate themselves, to start businesses, those kind of things. But now I think the problem all goes back to schooling. What are we teaching young people at school? Because if in your family you're not a family of readers, which unfortunately most Black families are not, most Black families don't have money to spend on books, unfortunately, because like if you don't have money for books, then surely you can go to your nearest library to just get books and develop yourself and educate yourself, and you'll find that there is no environment where you won't be able to speak about issues. Um, you'll always be ahead of people who are just sitting around gossiping in the street, talking about boys, talking about getting pregnant. I mean, I've heard that some young people, some young girls talk about they are competing about falling pregnant and making babies. I mean, goodness, when I was growing up,
Why?
people do. I mean, gosh, when I was growing up, um, we had a lot of things to do in school. Remember, this was the time of apartheid.
Mm.
And people say all these things about apartheid. Sure, they were there. But let's not forget the good things that were happening as well. We had sports in school. We had needlework and clothing, where you are taught about fashion, about sewing, about knitting. We had gardening in school. We had music. We had dance. We had all these things. Because remember, a human being is like has many facets on him or her. You need to develop in all this. You need to you need to know how to survive, really.
Also,
And the only way.
I
Mm,
think maybe also another big important thing is maybe what was the passing rate in those days?
mm. No, it was quite good. You won't believe that parents, black parents, used to take their children from the Western Cape to the former Transkei, Ciskei, because the Eastern Cape had great schools, whether it's Catholic schools, public
Mm.
schools. I mean, I went to a public school my whole life. I never went to a model C school or a private school.
And what was the passing
So
rate? Was it like 30%, 80%?
no, no. I mean, you had to have 50% at least
There you
to
go.
pass.
Yeah.
We didn't have this goodness. I mean, think about it. How can you how can you be told that you've passed if you only know 30% of your work? It cannot be. I mean, it just shows that government is not willing to train our teachers.
Mm.
Government is not willing to reopen colleges where teachers were properly trained to teach. Our teachers went to training colleges. Our nurses went to training colleges because that's where you are taught how to do your job. That's where you can know more about a person, know more. I mean, as if you are a nurse, if you are a teacher, that's the. I mean, if now we're told that grade 4 learners don't know how to read in any language with comprehension, it means that teachers don't know how to teach really, how to take information from the book to the child.
Mm.
So in such circumstances, can we blame children that they reach a matric and they reach? I mean, we have graduates, but when you listen to them, goodness, they are so empty in their heads. It all comes. It goes back to basic education. If we can fix primary schools, if
Yes.
we can fix, I don't even. It doesn't bother me that. I mean, I didn't go to a preschool. I went straight to school at age 6. So, but in our time, children went to school quite early.
Mm.
I had friends who started at age 4, age 5. I started at age 6. I mean, there's no reason to keep your child at home if they're old enough to talk and
Mm.
they talk back at you. There's no reason to keep them at school. But if you can afford to homeschool, I'm all for that. I think if I was a parent, I would definitely homeschool because
Well,
even though I'm not very patient though.
Eleutheria, who's an awesome YouTube channel as well, also often speaks about schooling in South Africa and homeschooling as well. She's been, I know the creator of that channel, she's been homeschooling her children. Um, she makes a comment saying they centralized the entire tertiary education system and effed up they effed it up, and that's true. Like I've often also said, like a lot of people often ask, like, oh, but like, how can we fix South Africa? And what's the one thing you would do to fix it? And I said, education. Education is
Mm,
probably the best way to fix any country
mm,
because you're putting power back into the people. and pass rate needs to be like 50-60%, because if it's 30%, then you're not motivated. You're not. You're like, I can study, a little bit, and I'll just pass, which in turn just perpetuates, not as skilled people to do a job, or whatever it is they like when they go to work. I know, if I get a number of people, if I get you and someone else, and you've gotten 90% in your exams and someone else has gotten 30, I'm going to choose you because you know 90% of your stuff, but if everybody was elevated to the same standard, so everybody had to get 60% at least, then that would change the dynamics of things, and
I mean,
make things a bit
I mean,
more.
when we were growing up, we were competing in class. We were pushing ourselves to be the best, all of us. Obviously, not
Exactly.
all of us passed, but we did our best. For me, I think I pushed myself because I didn't want to be beaten up by teachers. Remember, corporal punishment?
That is true. I'll remember that.
Punishment is still a thing then. Luckily for me, my brain was able to take in the work that we were given. It's unfortunate for someone who has dyslexia or all those, maybe they are slow in understanding the work and all that. So your teacher will beat you up really. And that led to some people feeling that, maybe I should copy then. If I don't know how this, I did maths and physics. So it's actually, I think that's what has helped me in business really, because I didn't study anything business related. So the maths and the fact that when I finished studying, I worked in a laboratory. A laboratory prepares you to be an organized person, to plan. You know how to plan. You can organize. You just. I think people who worked in laboratories are just different people. Obviously, not everyone, because some people, every time I talk about this, some people will say, no, I also work in a laboratory, but I'm still like disorganized and all that. But
Everyone's
overall, I think,
different.
yeah. But I think overall, I appreciate someone said that even if I'm no longer working as a food technologist today, someone said that in life, everything that you've learned, it can never be useless. You use all that information throughout your life.
Yes,
I
whether
mean,
you've
if I started,
whether you've started as a waiter and then grown,
absolutely.
built, moved from waiter to manager or to head waiter, then manager, then so on. Everything eventually becomes useful, and then maybe one day you can open up your own restaurant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story, an inspirational story I read of a man in the US who started up. He was a doorman, like just opening
I know
the
that
hotel.
story. Yeah.
So he just opened. He was very young. He was still like in his teens. He would just open the door. I mean, the fact that you're working means that you have time to wake up in the morning. People who don't have anything to do with their lives, they sleep until 12 o'clock. I mean, how do you do that? He became disciplined from that work, that kind of work. You could be a sweeper, you could be just a cleaner, but that can propel you to bigger things. You can start your own business from that knowledge. And maybe you're working for someone, you're just a cleaner, and you can learn about the products that you are dealing with. And some people have gone to start producing their own products and went into the industry to be a supplier of those businesses. So, I mean, life is full of amazing opportunities. And people who survive in life, even now with the lockdown, people who have survived. I mean, I met this woman driving for Uber or Bolt. I don't remember, but she was telling me, she's from Zimbabwe. She was telling me of all the things that she's been doing since lockdown started. Because remember, Uber, for instance, didn't allow drivers to work during that period. And So she was telling me she's been going to markets, buying things, buying vegetables, selling them, buying this and that, selling it. So she was telling me that you have to make a plan.
Yes.
So the life of entrepreneurs is just about making plans. If your business hasn't worked now, because if you open your mind to everything, just everything, you're an open-minded person. You're willing to learn and learn new things. I mean, your business might not have done well during the lockdown, but that can lead you to other opportunities, because there's always an opportunity in life. You cannot be in a tight spot forever.
Yes.
Who are you talking to? Who are you meeting? Who is inspiring you? When you are on social media, is Vusita Megwayo, who talks about entrepreneurship, who talks about business? Is he the kind of person who attracts your thinking? When you listen to such people, what comes up within you that can propel you to other bigger things? I mean, that's the way that young people will survive.
Networking and building relationships. That's something that is very important in business. And someone also mentions here, the good, the bad, the ugly, says hard work, ethics, and your working standard will get you to where you want to be. And I think that's also something that I think is also another problem is I've noticed that some people don't have, and I don't know if it's because of their education or their upbringing or maybe both, maybe their situations, but they don't know how to deal with people. They don't know certain etiquettes. Like something like, for example, being on time for a meeting or whatever. And I know I was late today. I'm sorry, but I had some technical issues. But being on time, like for an interview, for like a job interview, being on time for work, and putting in the effort. Like I feel like again, there's some the younger generation. I hear it all the time because I work a lot with venues in my events, with my events business, and the venues are always telling me how the young generation nowadays, they just don't want to work. They just come there, they do the minimum. They'll stand there and play on their phone, or they'll do whatever. They just want to be there for the day, do a few tables, serve a few tables, get a bit of a tip, and then leave. They won't do anything. They won't think. Like, oh, let me clean, let me do this, let me do that, let me be a good employee today. Or throughout their stay there.
But they want to get paid.
Exactly.
They want to get paid big money for doing nothing.
Yes.
You just reminded me now that when I went to I think when my mother was still in hospital at the beginning of this year, there was a notice at the hospital in Khayelitsha District Hospital on the window. They were taking young people for internships. I don't know how long the internships were. So when I was opening a folder for my mother when she was going to be admitted, I saw a lot of young people at the windows where you speak to the person who works there, and I didn't know, or I only saw that notice afterwards, because I was wondering that time, what are these people doing? What they were just sitting around there and not even learning from the person who's helping me. So they were sitting around on their phones, obviously on Facebook, on Twitter, doing all those kind of things that don't produce any good in them. So you are given an opportunity whether it's by the municipality or by government or by any other company, and all you do there is just sit on your phone. Goodness, why didn't you just stay at home so that another person who actually wants that opportunity can take the opportunity and use it wisely? I mean, people complain that take one celebrity, for instance, who's like taking up opportunities that are presented to him, Somizi Mhlongo. People were complaining on Twitter that he's getting all these jobs and all that. But they forget that he's in the industry for over 20 years. And he's actually worked his butt off. He's disciplined. He's a hard worker, great work ethic. I'm sure he's a good person to work with. So it's easy to hire such people, whether you radio or television or whatever you want to do. And if a person is good at what they do, and I think we can all be good if we put the effort. People just don't want to put effort in things. People want easy, young people especially. They want, and government is not helping. When government says that if you have a child, I'm going to give you social grant, you may think that is helping. No. I mean, I listen to Thomas Sowell all the time. If people who are watching now don't know Thomas Sowell, he's a great thinker. He's a classic liberal in the US. And he's an economist, an academic, you name it. Yeah, there's a lot of YouTube. He turned 90 last week. He's just an amazing human being. So he will tell you that before the 1960s, actually in the 30s, you could find that there were more. You would actually find more black people in the US who were richer than white people, because compared to what happened in the 60s. In the 60s, government decided that obviously things change with all nations. There will be wars, there will be this, there will be that, there will be plagues, and people's social standing drops a bit. So what happened in the 60s with the civil rights activists and all that, what happened is that government decided that black communities need a handout. And then actually they are saying that government officials would go house to house in black communities, and if they find homes that don't have men in them, then those homes would be given a social grant, or I don't know what they call it there. So what happens now over time, what that did to people is that, okay, so if there's no father in this home, government is going to reward us. So in a way, government took men's responsibility to be fathers, to be providers at home, and replaced. So Thomas Sowell is basically saying that government decided that okay, this black household is going to marry government, and government is going to take care of you. And unlike in South Africa, we don't have much social grant here, but in the US, you'll find housing. I get shocked sometimes when I watch their shows. People can actually afford entertainment, can afford fast food on social grants. And that is enforcing a culture of, even with the NSFAS, that young people now don't want to pay back. You're supposed to pay back NSFAS. I also used NSFAS in tertiary, and I paid back what I owed, because I understood that it was a loan and a part of it was a bursary. So when I started working, some people say that, no, I'm not working, I'm not going to pay. But unfortunately, even the ones who are working feel that, no, I'm entitled to a free education. And where does it say in the Constitution that you must get free tertiary education? There's no way that it says that. If you have basic education, your parents are supposed to take responsibility for your education further, not government. So with this culture of entitlement, this culture of someone must pay for what I want in life, it goes to the fact that young girls, young women will start now looking at men who have cars, men who have jobs, and whom they think have money, and they sell themselves to these men. That's not a way to live. Obviously, people have to do what they want. But unfortunately, I'm saying this as a woman. I'm 42 now, and I'll tell you that no man is going to do everything for you.
I can't believe your age, by the way. You've mentioned it before, and I've had comments of people saying 42. No, you look great.
I was born in 78, January the 4th. People were born in January, shame. We get the worst. Firstly, people forget our birthdays. People will tell us they don't have money after the festive season and all that. So we used to just strange, stingy people. So all this is nurtured at home. But if our families are broken, we can't have young people who are going to excel. Now what media likes to do is they will say this is the first black pilot, this is the first black woman pilot, black this, first this, black this. I hate that because you never hear them say this is the first white man who went to the moon. For white men, if you just know the name of the person, you'll assume that you'll know more or less that, okay, this one is white, this one is Indian, this one is colored maybe. But for black people, it's like so strange that a black person can excel in whatever they do. I hate that they will mention your race when you're black and you have excelled, because for me,
It's almost like they're implying that you can't, or that it's for some reason your color skin.
It's an abnormality for a black person to be good at what they do. I can't be the best salesperson. I can't be the best manager, and it goes back to, I mean, I saw white people in the US wearing t-shirts, black t-shirts that were written something like "I'm sorry." So I suppose they're apologizing to black people. It's like you're treating black people like children who don't think, and you think you are promoting black people, but in a way you're saying that you can't be black and excel. So I mean, I make a noise about these things because we don't think about the impact of what this does to young. I mean, even with the Men Are Trash movement, or Believe Women kind of, or the Me Too movement even, we don't know we're not thinking about the impact of what this does to men in society, young boys. I mean, I've had men apologizing, whether it's on television, the celebrities will apologize for criminals who have done wrong to women. You should not do that.
That always baffles me. Why celebrities? Like, I mean, I'm sure you saw that video that went around with when the Black Lives movement was happening. These celebrities are like, I take responsibility. That was the whole.
Oh my gosh, why? Every time I see a man saying such things, I will ask them, do you beat up your wife? Do you beat up your girlfriend? So why are you apologizing for what a criminal did? You shouldn't, because your confidence, your self-esteem as a human being, even before you think about the fact that you are a man, your confidence takes a knock. And if we are going to bring up boys who are not strong for our societies, for our communities, for our families, and we bring up boys who are shy to speak out, we bring up boys who don't want to stand for themselves, then we have ourselves to blame, because
Absolutely.
men are just as important as women in every country. And there's also that Take a Girl Child to Work program. And I ask myself, why are we leaving out boys? These girls are going to grow up, developed, and great jobs and all that. But who are they going to marry? Who are they going to date? And then we wonder why domestic violence is such a big thing in relationships. So these are the things that as a society we need to watch out for. And I mean, South Africa belongs to us, all of us. We are the ones who are going to fix it.
Exactly.
And not even politicians are going to do it for us, not even the media. We've seen the role, unfortunately, the negative role that the media plays. But it's each and every one of us to play a role that says, how am I building my country? How am I building my community? How am I building my family? So how am I building myself? Because it all starts with the individual. And so these are the things that I'm passionate about. We're supposed to talk about SMMEs. And but with every conversation, other things will come up. But going back to that, I mean, Ramaphosa now is telling us that businesses are going to close, people are going to lose jobs and all that, as if he wasn't told. I mean, I remember before the end of the first 21 days, the Reserve Bank told us that if the lockdown was made to be longer, extended, then we should expect hundreds of thousands of jobs to be lost, because you cannot switch off an economy that was already struggling and expect nothing to happen. Politicians think they can just switch on and switch off an economy. When you
It's
start
not like load
cut-
shedding.
oh my gosh.
It's not like load shedding.
I mean,
You can't
think
do
about
it.
supply chains. Yeah, think about supply chains. Think about the fact that when a liquor when the liquor industry was shut down, what happens to the manufacturer of bottles? They can't operate, because what are they going to do with all those bottles? Console is going to take a knock in sales, and obviously Console will have to lay off staff, because you can't keep people you cannot afford to, unless you, I suppose, you are an SOE, and taxpayers are supposed to bail you out every time. But that's not how real business works. Businesses, I tell people this, that businesses' job is not to employ people, is to create whatever products they're creating and to make money. So employment comes as a result of that, but it's not the main why you are in business.
Yeah, it's true.
People will say things like, "Oh, I started this business because I wanted to employ people." No, it's not the reason. That's why I think who's this woman? Okay, I forgot his name, but she talks. She has a book. One of those philosophers from way back. She talks about the fact that she says that selfishness is a virtue, because entrepreneurs are selfish people. You start. I mean, think about Bill Gates. Think about the Apple founder. Or
Steve
think
Jobs.
about Steve Jobs. Yes. They started things for themselves first, and then these ideas they had, they put into action and planned. And so how far can we go with this? It all started with them. Can I
And they
make
also
money?
didn't finish their education.
Yes. Which is something you need to tell. Which is something you need to tell EFF graduates. They go on and on and on about Steenhuisen of the DA, like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't finish. It's actually a great thing that John Steenhuisen has done so well for himself, even with a matric education and a few, let's say, certificates here and there to help himself. He's good in Parliament, as everyone has seen. So smarter people would actually ask, how did you do it? He's supposed to be a motivational speaker, because young people, unfortunately, we started off well in 1994, but things have been regressing for Black people in South Africa, and I'm sure for all other communities as well, whether you're colored, Indian, and all. That's why drugs have increased. The use of drugs has increased. People are trying to cope with the circumstances in South Africa.
Yeah.
So if you have someone like John Steenhuisen who doesn't have a degree, people don't understand that a paper from the university that says you have a degree in this or that doesn't do anything for you. You still have to work. You have to prove yourself why you got that paper. So, I mean, it's a good achievement to have, but you still have to work to just say that, okay, I have this paper, I'm a doctor now, so this is how I should be. I'm a nurse, qualified, I'm a manager, all these things. So you actually need people who've done it and excelled in what they do, whether it's in politics, whether it's in business, even without a degree or a diploma that they can talk about. Those are people that I admire, because they show me every day that it can be done as long as you put in the work, you're disciplined, and you, as you said earlier, you network. I mean, you can't, when you reach 21, you're an adult and all that. You can't hang out with people. I mean, you were hanging out with everyone in high school, maybe, if you're popular and all those kind of things. But when you get older, you need to know who should be in your circle. You can't allow everyone to be in your circle. You know, if you grow up in a township, for instance, in your streets, you probably have to be friends with just about everyone. But you need to know at a certain point, okay, these are the people I can hang out with. I get this from these kind of friends. But some friends are not good for you, so you need
Yeah.
to ditch them. And you shouldn't apologize, and you shouldn't explain yourself when you no longer want to hang out with certain people.
Yeah.
It's just that they're not helping you grow as a person. So why do you need such people in your life? Even if it means, I don't know if it's because I'm an only child at home, but
So
I
am
have
I.
a very few. Oh, awesome! So I enjoy spending time with myself. I know how to entertain myself. I know how to, and then when it's time to mingle with people, I do that with ease. But more often than not, you'll find me reading, just trying to improve myself. So as a young person, these are the things that you need to. I mean, start writing if you like writing. I think if all of us should be writers, really, because we are all out there on social media talking nonsense every day.
That's
So if
true.
you sit down and just make sure that your surroundings. I mean, for natural writers, natural born writers, I think like myself, it's easy to find things to write about, to talk about, because I make conversations with all sorts of people. I'll be at a bus stop, a taxi rank. If I decide that I want to have a chat with this person, it's easy for me to do those things. So that's how I find things to talk about. Because I can't possibly know everything in life. So I need to learn from people from all walks of life. So these are the things that even if you want to be in business, I mean, you need to know who do I follow. Look at DJ Smooth, who I haven't seen much of him. I don't know, maybe it's the lockdown, but what he's done with what is this drink, More Fire? What is done there, and the fact that he's out there selling himself, having people who can sell his product, and they get commission. I mean, that's how Avon or Justine or Home Choice work anyway. So why can't you do that yourself? These are people you should learn from as a young person.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why people love politicians so much. I don't know what I can learn from politicians, really. What do
Corruption.
politicians do? What does Malema do, really, that can attract you to him? There's nothing I can learn from I can learn from politicians. So I want real people in my life. Politicians right now are calling for an extension to stronger lockdowns because they get their income, full income, is not deducted. Politicians are demanding an increase in salaries. Look at the mayor of Johannesburg, Jeff Makubo. He wants people have lost jobs. People have been hungry in Gauteng. I'm still busy with the food voucher thing, and most people that I help are in Gauteng. And yet here's a mayor of Gauteng demanding and wanting an increase in his salary. He already gets paid over 100,000 every month. He wants
Jeez.
more. So so tell me, what can you learn from such people? There's nothing you can learn. And before I see the time, and I think before as young people, you have to take voting seriously. And we have over 20 million people who aren't voting in South Africa. These are people who could actually change things.
Yes. Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
think about the fact that the ANC got 9 point something million votes to win an election, and yet we have over 20 million people who don't vote because they can't. I think people. It's not that people are lazy or anything like that. People just can't relate to what they are hearing from politicians, whether it's the DA, EFF, the
That's true.
ANC, IFP, all those kind of people. People are not stupid. But the problem is that when you don't vote, you are sort of saying, I'm okay with the status quo.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't had water for 5 years, 4 years, even a week without water, it would drive me crazy. That's why I'm so grateful for being a Catonian.
Yeah.
I mean,
I sorry, I agree with you. Like, we need to, and I've been saying this a few times on my channel. Like, we need to, like, the next elections, we need to vote. And I don't care who
absolutely.
votes for who. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but just don't vote for ANC and EFF. Don't. We need
I mean,
change.
voting for your poverty. Otherwise, people don't even understand the impact of policies that government takes. How does that impact job creation? How does that impact business in a country? How does that affect an economy? Right now, politicians have put back on the table expropriation without compensation. How is that? Just talking about it causes jitters on the markets everywhere in this country. And politicians are still hung up on it. Why, if black people today are saying that in 2013, what happened in 2013 when the Land Act was enacted in South Africa and black people were dispossessed of their land, why would you vote EFF or ANC that is seeking to jeopardize property rights in the country? Which investors are going to come in South Africa where a government can just say, oh, today I feel that you have not been nice to me, I'm taking your land.
Exactly.
What country today does that? I mean,
The communist country.
even with, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. We should be talking about giving people in townships, because people in townships and rural areas still don't have title deeds. And title deeds could be helping them economically, financially, and so that they can secure, if let's say you are in the rural areas and you want to increase your business, your farm and your small farm and all that, you could actually be leveraging using your title deed. Go to a bank, you say, I have this land, I'm doing this. And the bank can actually give you. Banks are not going to give you money if they know that you don't own anything. No, they're not going to do that. So why are we not talking about giving black people title deeds in township, whether it's in townships or whether it's in rural areas? Why in KZN does the king there, Zulu king, why does he need all that land to himself? And he's the only beneficiary. He's the sole beneficiary. If people read Utlante's report, it was called the high level panel report, people will actually be shocked, because the media is not going to talk about all the details there. That's why I always encourage people, read for yourself.
Yes.
The media is going to take one line from a report of, let's say, 100 pages, 200 pages, and make it a big deal. But people don't read the details of all the reports, whether it's a court order that came out. Try to read, give yourself time. Even if you're going to read a paragraph today, in the morning, when you go to sleep, you read another paragraph. You are enlightening yourself, you're opening your mind to a lot of things. Even with people don't know that the Zulu king expects people to pay rent to him. And if businesses come to him and say, we want that land, that family must be removed there, he removes them, and no questions asked. So we saw what happened with Kwete Mantashe when he was still with the people of Kolobeni. Government wants powers to remove people in communities whenever they feel like it, and they don't want people to be compensated for their land, and that is something that we should all be speaking out against every day. Make sure that you're going to tell people that expropriation without compensation is legal theft, basically.
Would you be willing to come back onto my show and discuss that, EWC?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's have a nice.
It should be the biggest topic of the moment, because it's threatening to everyone's rights. Property rights are human rights. If you can't own anything, and someone can just come to your house and take your wife, take your keys, and just make them slaves somewhere. Why would you stand and not protect them? So property rights are human rights, and I would be happy to come and talk about it, and I'll also reflect on the report that I'm talking about, the Kgalema Motlanthe high-level panel report, because there's a lot of things that government decided to ignore the report, because it says that we need to demolish what is happening in KwaZulu-Natal. The king shouldn't have all those rights. People should be given land to own.
Can you send me a link? Is there a link that you can send me?
Well,
okay.
You can just Google the Motlanthe report, but I'll give you the name on Twitter or SMS, whatever. it's important that people know these things, because politicians are hoping that people don't read, so we can just walk all over them. No, you need to be empowered when you go to vote.
Knowledge
Why
is
should you
power.
vote? Yeah, absolutely. When you go to vote, you need to know this party wants to take land from my ancestors, from me, from my generation, and you shouldn't vote for such a party. You should ask, when politicians come to your community, you should ask them what is your standpoint on EWC. What I mean, you can't ask those questions if you're not a knowledgeable person. You'll only ask them when you know what's going on around you.
I would ask a new politician, what's your stance on EWC and BEE?
Absolutely. Those
Because
are
those are
two
very,
crucial
yeah.
things. Yeah,
And depending on what they say, they might have my vote, and they might not.
absolutely. I mean, even the DA doesn't want to come out strongly and say that we are against BEE. I don't know why. Why do you want to be for a racist policy? I had Ibrahim Patel saying that BEE is not racist. Hello, black. So you're saying you're taking everything from opportunity from every colored, white and Indian person, and you're saying that you're doing it for black people. How is that not racist?
Yeah, but you must remember, Unathi, everyone says that black people can't be racist. So the people that are implementing BEE are black, and therefore it is not racist.
Yeah, it's the rubbish. It's the rubbish that social justice warriors on
Yes.
Twitter are always preaching, and you should speak out against that rubbish.
I,
And if you're
I,
not sure,
I
how
would
do
love to.
I? You can come to me, send me a DM, and say, "Unathi, how do I? This person says this. I think it's wrong, but I don't know how to respond to them." I mean, I'm free to just give you a guide on what, because we need to empower our young people in the liberal space, in the classical liberal space, especially because we tend to. I feel that our principles should be universal. Our principles would actually take out black people from poverty.
Yes.
Because if you from a very young age you tell a young person that if you want something, no one owes you anything.
Yes.
If you want something, you have to work for it.
Yes.
So if young people can grow up with that mentality, that the mentality that says that I need to be self-sufficient, I need to work for my family, I need to work for myself, I need to improve myself. That's the only thing that can take you out of poverty.
And
because
anything you put your mind to, you can do it as well.
Absolutely.
That's something my parents put in my mind. Like, and that's why I'm in the comedy industry. I was known as being many comedians were like, Joe, you're a persistent mother effer, because I don't give up. I just keep on going. So that's also important.
So these are the values we need to instill in young people from a very early age. I mean, nowadays people want things for free. People want free houses. People want. I tell people all the time, before ANC came to power, black people did things for themselves because we didn't expect anything from the apartheid government. To be honest with you, that's why if you had an opportunity to be in the former Transkei or former Ciskei or former Venda or former Bophuthatswana, those TBVC states, you will know that things were functioning the way that they are supposed to function. But when ANC came over and took people's power away, I mean, they said that, okay, you can vote, but people don't even understand what that means. That's why they keep voting the ANC, or that's why they choose to stay at home and not go to vote. We know that things were functioning properly. You could go to Mthatha, which was the capital town of the former Transkei, and you could go to Queenstown, Port Elizabeth. All these places were wonderful places. Bophuthatswana, where the Sun City is today. These are people that were these were the areas that were functioning, and black people there were managing things well. But today, some people think black people can't manage. It's nonsense. It's the politicians it's the politicians who are useless.
Yeah.
It's the politicians that people elect. I mean, why are people voting for EFF? EFF that stole from grannies in Limpopo. I mean, some things are just so obvious, but people are doing them, and people are waiting politicians to fix their lives. You are the only one who can do that for yourself.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you'll always be complaining to someone, oh, white people have done this to my people and all that. I ask people, if you say white people stole land, tell me, did your family lose any land? Because my family never lost any land. I'm not saying that no one was removed maybe from the District 6 or those. There are communities that were removed and dispossessed, but not all Black people lost land. People must stop lying.
Yeah,
People must stop lying and start be lovers of truth. And the media has shown that they're not interested in facts.
No.
So that's why now they are worshipping Black Lives Matter people movement. Goodness, why? These people have killed Black people in the US. They terrorized
destroyed businesses.
Absolutely, Black businesses. So why do you worship such people? But if you're someone who doesn't seek knowledge, I mean, if you can do it for yourself, stop even watching the news in South Africa, or stop watching CNN, because people think everything they see on CNN is the truth. And they don't see that it's so one-sided. They don't want any views that are against what they believe. So it's not journalism anymore. It's propaganda.
Exactly.
So it's best to just associate yourself with people who speak what you are speaking, so that you can just learn more as a person, and you just grow from strength to strength.
Yes. All right, so let's end it here, so it doesn't go too long, and I want people to watch this and not be discouraged with over an hour. But before we go, Robin Hassan has a question in the chats. She wants to know, where can she have a cup with this amazing woman, a cup of coffee?
Well, she in Cape Town, because I'm free. People should. When I was in Joburg last month, I spent 7 days there, and every day I made sure that there's a Twitter person that I want to speak to, and because some people have been speaking to them for a long time. Some of them I don't even recognize, but they will know. No, Unathi, we've been having chats for forever, for 5 years. So people just send us, can we meet, that kind of thing. And I'm always open, because, oops, oh, what happened?
I still see you. I think you just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you just minimized the...
Okay.
There we go.
So I'm free to chat to people. Right now I'm in Pinelands. Goodness. I'm at an Airbnb in Pinelands.
Okay.
But yeah, tomorrow I'm moving to Rondebosch. So if someone is in Rondebosch or close by, come say hi. And I mean, I never thought of myself as a people's person, but I like interacting with people.
That makes you a people person.
I think so. And because I'm in business, I've learned to understand people better. I've learned to deal with people better. So if you want to come say hi, Unathi, let's meet for coffee, for tea, and all that. And we'll take pictures. If you don't want me to post your pictures, you must say so, because I always post the pictures I take. Yeah. So no, I'm free. But I'll be traveling to Joburg again on the 19th, next week Sunday. I can't wait.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, for
Eleutheria.
2 weeks. So I'll be in Joburg. If someone is in Joburg wants to hang out.
Yeah, well, there's someone here who, Eleutheria, who's also Beth Symes. She says, next time you're in Joburg, make a plan to get together, please. So there you go. She's gonna... Unathi just said.
Absolutely.
All right, Unathi. Yeah. Let's end it there, and I will be in contact with you over Twitter for the discussion on EWC, and maybe we'll touch on PE as well during that conversation. I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm sure you and I have a lot to talk about on that one. But I want to thank you.
People must educate themselves. I mean, the Free Market Foundation had a conference 2 years ago. I think you can just go to YouTube, Free Market Foundation. You'll find the conference. We had people some of the speakers couldn't come, somewhere from Brazil, Venezuela, and they talk about the impacts of whenever a government takes property rights away. What happens to that economy? Venezuela at one point was one among the richest in the Americas, But today you cannot say that. Zimbabwe used to be amazing, and it can still be if politicians stopped their nonsense and actually did what they are supposed to do, which is open up the industry, open up the economy, give people property rights. And if you have a right to your property and you have your title deed, you can develop your property. You can it's power to you as a family, as a person. So people must educate themselves about such things. And
Exactly.
Black people do want land. Black people are able to take care of land. Black people are capable of being farmers. And this government doesn't understand that. And these are the things that we have to continue talking about.
Yes, and I'm definitely going to bring that up during the discussion of EWC because, yeah, I've also learned some things about how the government is failing at
Mm,
empowering black farmers and stuff like that. So
mm, mm,
we'll leave that for our next discussion. Thank you, Unathi, so much for joining me this morning. I'm
mm.
sorry that I had a bit of a technical issue, but we managed to get on quickly and stuff like that. This has been a very interesting conversation once again. It's always a pleasure chatting to you, and keep doing what you're doing, please. You've inspired a lot of people, I think, and everyone in the chats loves you. Everyone wants to meet you. Olivia is saying, I would love to. I'm such a fan and have many ideas. Would love to meet you if you're in Pretoria, Unathi. So you've got fans everywhere, and keep up the good
Absolutely.
work.
You know, I'm Joburg. Who says I can't book a place in Pretoria? I
Yeah.
can book a place.
All right. Cool. So for those of you who watched, thank you so much. Please like this video. Please share it. And also don't forget to subscribe. I'll be having Unathi back on my channel very soon, and along with a whole lot of interesting people. Tonight I have a roast with some comedians. Please tune into that if you're a roast fan. Remember, if you've seen the Comedy Central roast, that's the kind of thing that we're going to do. So if that's your cup of tea, join. If not, no hard feelings. There's other content on my channel for you to enjoy. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. And if I don't see you tonight, have a great weekend. And I'll see you the next one. Cheers.